Hey everyone, welcome back to Supreme by Sarah Pearl. I am your host, Sarah Pearl, and I am so excited today because I have a topic that I'm going to talk about, and it's going to be broken up over a series of four different episodes, and I'm very excited to present it to you. It's called Wounded, and it's going to be, or rather, it is about people, myself included, that are walking around living our everyday lives with a wounded spirit. And I realized, I came to this realization, I don't know, like maybe a week or so ago, that there are people who are walking around here with a wounded spirit. And I realized myself that I have walked around this earth with a wounded spirit as an adult, with a wounded spirit. And I'm drawn to this topic mainly because I have experience with it. And the realization that other people are walking around with a wounded spirit, it was really heavy on me. And I knew that I needed to at least bring up the topic because there's some people out here who don't even realize, and we'll talk about this, but there are people who don't even realize that they're wounded, right? There are people out here who don't realize they're wounded, and so they don't even know to ask for help. And then there's people that know they're wounded, but they're in such a hopeless state or helpless state that they don't think there's any hope for them. That they've accepted this as their new norm. And so, like I said, I was drawn to that. Because I really want to help people work through those wounds that they have, because I want to be there for the people who have been repeatedly like misused, mis- mistreated, misunderstood, and just overall like mishandled in life. And I so desperately want to be there for those people and speak some, I give them some perspective on that, because human nature, y'all, human nature is strong. Okay, it is our nature to be resilient, to be unrelenting, right? To be powerful, so much so that when a wound is afflicted upon us, instead of like addressing it head on, we learn, like, we just kind of move along in life, trying to do our best in life, clawing our way from the bottom, digging our ways out of the valley, because that's human nature. Like, we are fighters by nature, right? When there is resistance, when there is a situation where we're not where it's not necessarily the best situation for ourselves and we know we can do better, it's natural for us to want to claw our ways out of that. But in doing that, y'all, we learn how to cope with the wounds that's been afflicted upon us. And if we can't take a second from our everyday like hustle and bustle and our everyday like trying to claw ways out of our current situations and overcoming certain things, if we don't take a second from the distractions that we have every day, from the binge watching on TV, from the I don't know, oversleeping and procrastination, if we don't take a second from that, then we'll look back 20, 30, 40 years from now, and we would have forgotten about the wounds altogether. Shoot, 10 years, like whatever, however long, we would have forgotten about the wounds and learned how to live with it, and just learn how to live with it on a like on a daily basis. So much so that it becomes our new normal. Y'all, living with a broken bone, living with an open wound, that is not normal. But if you are someone, because here's something interesting. There is an actual medical disorder where people cannot feel pain that's afflicted on their bodies. Okay, it's an actual medical disorder, and I think it's something to do with like their neurology. But it's an actual disorder. So there's people out here that can touch a hot stove and not feel the burns on their hands. There's people who can break a bone and not realize that their bone is broken. And I know you're probably thinking, like, oh man, it must be so nice not to feel pain. But what we don't realize is that these people are in great danger, Because what happens to a wound when it goes untreated? What happens to a third degree burn if it goes untreated? What happens to a broken bone if it goes untreated? What happens is that the original wound, or rather the like the lack of attention and the lack of treatment of this wound, the damage of that is more severe than the original wound itself. Do you hear what I'm saying? And guess what? That is true for your mental and spiritual being as well. So I think it's time, and I don't think it is definitely time for us to start taking our emotional and spiritual wounds just as seriously and tending to them as urgently as we would our physical wounds. So there are people walking around here who don't know that they have wounds, and there's people walking around here who have wounds, and it's become a new normal for them to operate in that dysfunction. Mm, 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 mm. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? Okay. Just because you no longer feel it, guys, just because you've forgotten about it, it doesn't mean that it's not there anymore. It's ever present in your life. And more than likely, it's affecting your life in ways that you don't even realize. In ways you don't even realize. Have you ever asked yourself why you respond to certain things the way that you respond? Why do you respond in certain ways? Most people don't ask themselves the why questions because that alone can begin to uncover many untreated wounds that we are afraid to face. Here's some truth for you guys. And this is the truth I want you to take with you throughout this series. You deserve to be healed. And you might not be ready to go there with yourself just yet. You might not be ready to ask yourself those tough questions and to be honest with yourself. But whenever you're ready, just know that I am available for you. I am available for you whenever you're ready to go there with yourself. But if you are ready right now, we're going to dive into this a little more. And that's what this series is about. Each week I'm going to release a new installment in this series. And you're going to have the opportunity to ask yourself those tough questions that we tend to avoid throughout our life because of the hustle and bustle of our everyday lives. Okay. Now, one thing that's going to be important in this entire series is your participation. You're going to need to journal. Okay. I'm going to ask you a series of questions after each or in during each podcast episode, and I want you to keep track of those questions, and I want you to journal about your answer, your response to those questions. Okay. I don't want you to answer the questions in your head. I want you to be able to write it down and really like explore all of the dimensions of your response. Okay, don't just like give me a yes or no or a one sentence. I really want you to dive into the answer to those questions because more than likely the the what you think your answer is, it goes deeper than that even. Okay, so when you write, I want you to be completely honest with yourself and completely trust the process. Okay, so that I'm going to wrap it up there for the first episode. What I want you to do with this episode is answer the question, how am I doing? Like, how are you doing? And don't give me that like I'm great, I'm good, can't complain. I want to know, and you're not sharing this with me, but I want you to practice being able to identify your emotions and identify how you're actually doing. Okay? Not, oh, I'm good, can't complain. No, how are you doing with your life, like with your emotions, and really dive into it, right? And maybe maybe it's like I'm really doing great. Okay, if you're really doing great, tell me what makes you feel like you're doing great. Like what is it? And if you say, man, I'm not in a good place right now. Okay, what situations are in your life right now that causes you not to be in a good place, and just write about it. Okay, Now, if you guys have any questions about it, feel free to reach out to me. Supreme by Sarah Pearl at gmail.com. You can email me. You can reach out to me on any of my social media channels. Instagram is Sarah Pearl Thomas. Facebook is also Sarah Pearl Thomas. And I also have a Facebook page, Supreme by Sarah Pearl. You can reach out to me at any time to ask me questions, or if you have some insight about your journaling process, I would love to hear about it. And so you can reach out to me about that as well. But happy journaling, and I can't wait to talk to you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye.